Everyone loves a good boss battle, but for every good boss battle, there's always going to be those ones. Like, ones that you really hate the most, one you want to rage, one you want to throw the controller at for no apparent reason, that it's completely unfair and doesn't make sense whatsoever. And, yeah, this is going to be the top 8 worst boss battles. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of raging here going on. So yeah, you've been warned. So, yep, enjoy.
Hello everybody, my name is CinematicController, and this is my least favorite boss battle. Those who know me may know that I'm a bit of a Megaman fanatic, so it's only fitting that I choose a boss from that series. Despite Megaman likely being my favorite series, it's not without its flaws, and one of these flaws being the fight with Spark Mandrill. There's nothing inherently wrong with his battle, however, the Megaman series has always had a feature to help players. After clearing a stage, Megaman, X, or Zero acquire a power based on the boss that they just beat. This power will be super effective on another boss, which is not directly stated in the game. Spark Mandrill is a regular boss, not bad, though the power that is super effective on him, its origin being Chill Penguin, makes the battle almost impossible to lose. Instead of just a regular attack that looks different and does an additional amount of damage, it freezes Spark Mandrill in place. Okay, that's not that big of a deal. However, it also damages them, does extra damage because it's against him, and this particular fighting style Spark Mandrill uses, it's really easy to just continuously freeze him while he tries to get away. I'm sure there's worse boss battles out there. Hell, I'm sure there's worse boss battles out there even in the Mega Man series. But just the fact that he's so easy, and he's in one of my favorite games, a game meant to be hard, mind you, he's one of my least favorite boss battles.
Ristar is a fantastic game. The art style and enemies are cute, but at the same time pretty dark at some points, and the boss battles are no exception. The boss battles go from a wizard with a parasite on its back to a melting ice monster who hates hot food. Fun fact, in Japan this is a robot cat. It's symbolic. They're also pretty fair when it comes to fighting them, unless when it's a bird who sings about that it kills you. Awaueck is a boss battle that is more annoying than hard, but it's definitely one of the worst bosses I've ever fought. The first thing he does when the battle begins is this. What a dick. While Awaueck, I'm just gonna call it Bird. While the bird is standing on the podium, his attacks consist of bad singing causing notes to come out and literally hurt you as he sings so terribly. Or that the ceiling will crumble causing glass shards to fall down. This attack happens every time you hit the bird's podium as it causes an earthquake. Or he'll just jump and do it himself. Prick. When you knock the podium 3 times, the bird will fall off, and the smaller bird will take his place and sing perfect notes. Now his attacks will consist of either dive-bombing at you, or creating extremely hard to dodge feather dropping attacks which makes me cringe every time he does it. When you hit him twice, he goes back onto the podium and continues his crappy singing. You have to do this 4 times, and when I fought this guy the first time, I lost more continues than I could count. This was the only boss in the entire game that made me lose my mind while fighting him, and that counts the final boss, spoilers, Greedy. Not to mention that sometimes I swear to God I hit him, but nothing happens. Oh come on, I hit you! The only way you're going to beat this guy in your first try is if you waste enough time that the small bird sing 5 notes to give you a star to refill your health with. Now, my question here is, why didn't you just lower the difficulty, stupid boss? At least with Greedy, I could forgive him because he was the final boss. But the bird is the 4th boss in the game, And this is too hard for the 4th boss battle. With no pattern to memorize, extremely cheap deaths, unfair attacks, I can safely say Awaueck is not only one of the worst, but also one of the most frustrating boss battles I've ever faced. If you haven't played Ristar, you should give it a try. It's fun, colorful, cute, and one of the best games I've ever played. But when you get to this boss, try and hold on to your sanity.
I'm gonna have to say that my least favorite boss has to be Chaos 4. It's playable, it's okay. Okay, it's not okay, because it's slow and boring in the fact that you have to fight it with 3 characters. 3 times. Okay, not 3 times, unless you're counting the boss rush, but it sucks at the end.
Alright, so for my worst boss battle, I have to go with the final boss from Super Mario Sunshine. Now let me first start off by saying, I love Super Mario Sunshine, but there was so much build-up throughout the entire game to get to the part where you get to Bowser and beat Corona Mountain for the final fight against Bowser. You'd think Bowser would bother to get out of the stupid tub. Not so much. All he does, but you know, this is kind of a downfall of all the 3D Mario games up to what we're currently at, like Mario Galaxy 2 or whatever it was. They all follow a very predictable pattern, and Bowser really doesn't do anything to you. The most he does in Mario Sunshine, and the reason I picked this one is just because he's so lazy, he doesn't even stand up to fight you. He sits in the acid pool hot tub thing with Bowser Jr. while they fire rockets at you and shoot fire. And that's it. That's all Bowser does. And he literally sits there and watches you destroy the support beams around the tub, and then he just plummets. That's it. He sits in the tub, tries to stop you with his flame breath, and then watches you destroy the support beams around him. Way to go, Bowser! You definitely were on vacation for that one.
My choice for worst boss of all time, in my personal opinion, is Belcha from Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. Now, before you all start getting me hate comments about putting Belcha on this list and saying, well, it's the first boss, it's supposed to be easy, here's the problem with this. The other 2 first bosses from Donkey Kong Country 1 and Donkey Kong Country 2, yes, were easy, they're the first bosses, but they still provided more of a challenge than Belcha does. First boss in Donkey Kong Country was Naughty, a giant beaver who, if you weren't careful, could jump into you as every time you hit him, he moved faster and faster, which, albeit isn't the most smartest of boss attacks, at least he did try something different every time you hit him. And the second, in Donkey Kong Country 2, the first boss was Crow, which is a giant bird of which you had to hit with its own eggs. A boss that apparently was so good, Ray decided to bring it back as a ghost in the 5th world. So, let's not go back into that. And for those of you who are probably going to say that I'm only putting this on this list by saying I hate Donkey Kong Country 3 over the other 2. Don't get me this wrong. While I'm not a big fan of Donkey Kong Country 3, I don't hate it, and it's not my most hated game of the Donkey Kong series. Anybody who knows me knows what my most hated game in that series is, and I'll get to more on that when I actually do a from worst to first on the Donkey Kong Country series. See, Donkey Kong Country 3 did something right that most games don't do anymore within the first world of the game. One thing I want to know is, if a game is a sequel, or in this case, a sequel to a sequel, I want to know if there are any new characters and any new gimmicks and how exactly do these gimmicks work and how these characters work before I ever get a chance to play any more farther than this first world. And you know what? Donkey Kong Country 3 does this pretty well. It teaches you about how to get the new DK coins from the freaking guys who use them as shields, how to use Kiddy Kong's weight to break certain things, and how Kiddy Kong's weight to break certain items, and how some of the new animal buddies work, like Ellie the elephant. So why would you In fact, after building the level up the difficulty steadily up throughout the majority of the first world, suddenly take it 5 steps backwards by making the boss of the world ridiculously and retardedly easy. Wanna know how easy Belcha is? Well, when I say easy boss, I was originally going to put David Piranha from Super Mario World 2 style on here, but considering that the easy part of him is something you can do optionally and you have to have some skill or remember that it's there to pull it off, makes David Piranha kind of legitimately not part of this list. But what makes Belcha easy? Belcha is one of those bosses that you just simply there's no strategy involved in Belcha. All you really have to do is jump on the beetles he throws at you, pick him up, and throw them back in his mouth, which causes him to burp. His name is Belcha, and he burps until he burps himself so hard he falls backwards into a hole into the level he's fighting on. Oh, maintenance effect, the Belcha is a giant barrel. Yeah, apparently somehow Square thought, those big things that we always throw around in these Donkey Kong Country games? Well, what if you had to fight them? Now I know somebody's going to argue that the oil drum boss from Donkey Kong Country 1 would be a worse boss, but at least he did. At least that boss just sent you a bunch of different random enemies that you actually had to be prepared for if you weren't prepared. Belcha takes no preparation. You can literally just give Belcha to somebody who's never played Donkey Kong Country 3 in their lives, tell them how to beat it, if you tell them how to beat it correctly, and yes, they may fail the first time, but eventually somebody's gonna learn, oh, I just throw it in his mouth when his mouth is open long enough for him to burp himself backwards. However, it doesn't take much skill. The boss is under design, just seems like a lazy cop-out to manage how to make a barrel a boss, but it seems the same way with most of the bosses in Donkey Kong Country 3. While I like Donkey Kong Country 3, it seems that all of the bosses, except for maybe a slight few such as Barrel K. Rool inside and the robot, which I can't remember the name of right now, just seem to be lazy attempts at making some weird thing a boss. I mean, the spitting thing behind a waterfall that you fight as Ellie, and then you have a burping barrel. Really rare, this is supposed to be your swan song for the Donkey Kong Country series, and you come up with this before going to the Nintendo 64 and making such great games such as Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie and Conker's Bad Fur Day, and finally having your swan song for Nintendo being one of my favorite games of all time, Donkey Kong's Star Fox 64. You make the one thing that I remember you on the N64, your last thing on the Super Nintendo, and the one thing I remember it for is a burping barrel. Great job.
Hi, Usagi here, and you know me as Sephiroth's Queen 777, bringing you my entry into the worst boss battle list. My worst boss battle comes from a Nintendo 3DS title of Castlevania, Lords of Shadow, The Mirror of Fate. My boss, the Daemon Lord. The reason why I chose him is because he had so much promise of being a really, really excellent boss after what you've seen in the beginning, but he kind of went lackluster. You first meet him and you fight him in 3 out of the 4 storylines. The 4 storylines in Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate go as Gabriel Belmont, Simon Belmont, Alucard, and Trevor Belmont. You fight him with Gabriel, Alucard, and Trevor. Simon never gets to meet him, for which I wish they would have actually brought him in with Simon's story. But anyways, let's continue. The Daemon Lord is considered a manticore because he has a lion's head, wings of an eagle, tail of a scorpion. You first meet the Daemon Lord from a mysterious summoning which brings Gabriel Belmont into a land where they have been having issues with demons. Him and 3 other members of the Brotherhood of Light have been summoned to basically take care of this issue. This is a year before the events of Lords of Shadow. So, once they get there, and the 3 members that have come with Gabriel have been killed off, Gabriel is confronted by the Daemon Lord. Daemon Lord enters Gabriel. Gabriel uses his blood to form a seal, and uses a magical device to capture and imprison the Daemon Lord. Fast forward 30 years later to the events of Lord Shadowmere Fate. Trevor is in Castlevania. He is getting ready to go confront Dracula. He then finds that a group of witches have awoken the Daemon Lord. The Daemon Lord smells the air, finds that Gabriel is Dracula, and goes after Gabriel. Which, in fact, makes Trevor jump onto the back of the Daemon Lord and fight him using quick time events up until the tower's link, right before Dracula. The Daemon Lord and Trevor have a little bit of a tussle using more quick time events. Trevor kills him. And as you're leaving that, another cutscene will appear and you see the toy maker on his unicycle laughing. Trevor fights Dracula. I'm not going to spoil the game for you, but you'll see. Then you cut to Alucard's story. Alucard is going into getting woken up, walking down to go confront Dracula once more, considering he is stronger now, is found by the Daemon Lord, recognizes him as the one who kills him. Yes, spoiler alert, Alucard is Trevor. The Daemon Lord burns Alucard with sunlight, tosses Alucard off the castle. Alucard somehow survives by landing in water. Those who know old Castlevania know that Belmonts don't like water. But this is Mercury Steam's version of Castlevania, so those rules do not apply. Anyways, you go through Castlevania once more, go to a resurrection room. Resurrection room, you fight the Daemon Lord once more. And this is where it becomes super stupid. The Daemon Lord in the Resurrection Room fires lasers, uses electricity to disable Alucard. Which is good and all, until you get to the point where you can basically use a fully charged bat projectile, stun him with a full health bar, use that, and then jump to the quick time event where you kill him at the beginning of the boss battle. And I found this out by accident. That is the most lackluster boss battle I have ever seen in my life. It is way too simple. The boss, if they didn't have the quick time events, unless it was the final move, it would have been fine. But since they have quick time events throughout the entire battle, it makes it so much easier, and it's not worth it. To be honest, I wish Mercury Steam could have done it better. But once again, Daemon Lord, great build up, poor boss fight. Simple as that. And that's my entry.
So this is Shock44, and I've been asked to share my thoughts on what I think is the worst boss battle. I don't know if this is the worst boss battle I've ever had, but it's one of the worst I would consider, because it gives you barely anything to work with, and it's really short. It's over with in I don't know, 1 minute, 2 minutes max. It's really easy to beat, and I just think it's really poor boss fight. So I decided to go with a popular game that isn't massively popular, but it does have a cult following. So most people consider this game to be flawless and amazing, but there's some flaws here I want to address today with this boss fight. The final boss fight in the game is at the very end, the last thing you do. And I'm just going to say right now that I just really think this boss fight is very poor in the way it conducts itself. Basically, you are, given the power to become a huge psychic ability person, and then you fight up against this monster that has been made inside this person's mind that you're in, and you just punch the monster with your giant psychic fists of doom, and you kill it. And I'm not really sure if you can kill it right when you start the battle, because after a few punches, you'll turn back into small Raz, or regular Raz, whatever you want to call it, and then you'll have to wait for your power meter build up, and you become Big Raz again, and you'll be like, oh yeah, Big Raz, I'm gonna punch this guy. But it's over. It's over, and so quickly. It's so dumb. I hate it, because, like, you get all these psychic powers throughout the game. You get so many, and then you think, oh yeah, these are gonna be useful later on. These are gonna be so awesome. I'm gonna be a Psychonauts soon. But no. You use them in certain levels, you use them in certain boss fights. In this boss fight, you don't use any of them. It's retarded. And I don't understand it. It's like, oh my gosh, why did we not use these other powers? Like okay, turning Raz into a giant psychic wielding punching guy. That's really cool. But come on. You have the Psy Blast, you have the confusing grenades, you have the burning people with your mind ability. There's got to be some way you could make a amazing theatrical boss fight that's like, this feels like this is the final boss fight. This is epic. This is gonna be so awesome. Like, and you just totally annihilate it with all your powers. Like one part of the boss fight at the beginning calls for burning. The next one calls for Psy Blast. And then the last one calls for like confusion grenade and Psy Blast. It would have been so epic to just combine all these. You have to use all these powers throughout the entire boss fight. That would have been great, but no! You get this lackluster boss fight where it just feels like it was just shoehorned in, and there was no unique effort whatsoever. Yeah, the way that Raz looks when he's really big and psychic looking, or whatever he is, when he turns into this really big thing, looks pretty cool. It looks really cool, I'll give it that. But other than that, this felt like a big cop-out. I'm sorry to bash on a portion of the game that overall, the game itself is awesome. I love Psychonauts. You should totally buy it if you don't have it, if you're a fan of platformers. If you're not a fan of platformers, then you might not want to get it, but if you're a fan of like big story-driven games, then you should get it, definitely. Even if you're not a fan of platformers, it's not that hard of a game to play if you're not much of a platformer guy. If you ask me, I mean, there are some parts that are hard, but you can get into it. And so, just want to discuss this boss fight. That's all I have to say today. And this is Shock44 over and out.
Warning, this might contain spoilers. Yeah, my choice for the worst boss battle ever is Demise. Yes, I'm finally got around to talking about him. After I said I was going to in one of my previous countdowns, my top Zelda bosses. But anyways, Demise. Yeah, he's the final boss of Skyward Sword, even though I should have been gearing him. Anyways, the reason why I hate this guy so much is because he was slow, clunky. Yeah, I died a couple, maybe 5 or 3 times at him, but it was really not my fault. I mean, when the part where he's acting like Thor and using all this lightning coming down, I mean, how the hell was I supposed to know that I was supposed to use the lightning to my advantage? I mean, I just thought it was part of the scenery. Seriously, how the hell was I supposed to know? Yeah, and he was slow and clunky, and yeah, that's pretty much my reason why I don't like this boss. So, whichever part I'm at, I hope you guys enjoyed at my ranting. Oh god, I hate this guy so much. Well, I hope you enjoyed everyone's ranting. If you want to see more, please click the videos that you see right now. Also, feel free to like, subscribe, and follow me on Facebook. And also, in the descriptions are the channels of the people who helped out with this project. So, I'm the HellFireMonkey, and I'll see you guys next time.